Well then, welcome to the program. You're with Arise News in Lagos. Ahead over the next hour, all of the global headlines you need to know about. This is The World. I'm Ni Uilo.
And I am Alero Dediare.
Good to have you. Our top stories now are threatening to close the border. U.S. President Donald Trump says the frontier with Mexico will shut if Congress fails to fund his wall between both countries.
Plus, Shehu Shagari dies. The former civilian president of Nigeria passes away following a brief illness.
We now have a new friend. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets Brazil's President-elect Jair Bolsonaro and says there is a bright future between both countries.
And requesting to skip court, actor Kevin Spacey asked to skip arraignment on sexual assault charges next month.
President Donald Trump has threatened to shut down the border with Mexico over illegal immigration if Congress fails to fund his proposed wall. The dispute has caused a partial U.S. government shutdown.
That's right, the partial government shutdown was almost certainly be handed off to a divided government to solve in the new year. Mick Mulvaney, the Director of Office of Management and Budget and Trump's incoming Chief of Staff, say that Trump is absolutely willing to shut the southern border.
All options are on the table. Listen, it's the only way we can get the Democrats' attention. Keep in mind, let me walk you through what's happened in the last couple of days, okay? The Vice President and I and Chuck Schumer met on Saturday, okay? We gave them our most recent offer. We came down off of our $5 billion offer. They, at that time, were at $1.3 billion. Now, they originally had been at 1.6. I think everybody knows that the Senate Appropriations Committee passed a bill funding the border wall at $1.6 billion with, I think, 10 Democrats on the committee voting for that. So the Democrats went from 1.6 to 1.3. We were at 5. On Saturday afternoon, we sat down with Mr. Schumer and gave him a number below 5. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you what did I just say what I wasn't going to tell you what the number was? And we were fully expecting them to come back and continue those negotiations. Last night they called us and said that they weren't even going to counter that. Here's what I think is happening. This all comes down to Mrs. Pelosi's speakership. I think left to his own devices that Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats probably would cut a deal, but they're protecting Mrs. Pelosi. She does not have the votes, and if she cuts a deal with the president of any sort before her election on January 3rd, she's at risk of losing her speakership. So we're in this for the long haul. We're here. And they know where to find us. And we put the last offer on the table. Okay, in a negotiation, anybody who's done this, you guys have done this for your own salaries. You don't make an offer and then make another offer and then make another offer. We made an offer last Saturday night. They told us that they'd get back to us by the end of the week. They got back to us last night and said, we're leaving. That's it, no more discussions. So the discussions have broken down. We do expect this to go on for a while. We do expect to manage it. The Smithsonian, for example, has been open all week. It will be closed after New Year's. A shutdown certainly does look a little bit different under a Republican administration. We will not be weaponizing the shutdown in order to make it hard on people like we believe the previous administration does, but we could be this for the long haul.
At this rate, it looks like we're going to be having a long shutdown.
Definitely, indeed. And now a suspected drunk driver accused of fatally shooting the Californian police officer who pulled him over was captured yesterday as he tried to flee back to Mexico, where he lived before illegally crossing into the U.S., authorities said.
That's right. The sheriff whose agency was leading the investigation blamed California's sanctuary law for preventing local authorities from reporting Gustavo Perez Arriaga's previous arrest to federal immigration officials. Now, if the suspect had been deported, he said, Corporal Ronil Singh of the tiny Newman Police Department will still be alive. Following a statewide manhunt, Perez Arriaga was arrested on a murder warrant in a house near Bakersfield, about 320 kilometers southeast of the scene of the shooting.
I am pleased and very proud of the fact that the suspect is in custody. He has been apprehended in Bakersfield. He was safely taken into custody earlier today by teams from the Kern County Sheriff's Office and many other law enforcement agencies who have helped us relentlessly pursue this suspect in pursuit of justice. Gustavo Perez Arriaga, 33 years old, again, was arrested earlier today during the execution of a search warrant. He was found at a residence in the Bakersfield, Kern County area.
Ronil Singh was my older brother. Yes, he's not coming back, but there's a lot of people out there that misses him. And a lot of law enforcement people that I don't know that work days and nights to make this happen. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart to make this happen.
On behalf of the Newman Police Department and the City of Newman, we are extremely grateful for all the help and support that we've received over the past few days. Without our brothers in law enforcement and sisters in law enforcement, this would have never happened. We don't have the resources to make this happen. And without even a blink of an eye, they came to our aid, and they were able to catch the suspect and bring him into custody.
Some good news there on Arriaga's arrest.
Yeah, definitely, and it's so sad and so devastating.
Indeed. Now, US stocks are pushed higher in a choppy session yesterday following a wild week of trading that has seen equities rebound from a prolonged slide.
Major indices moved in and out of positive territory during the day, action that was emblematic of recent volatility through lacking the huge swings of the past week. Thursday's trading was marked by a stunning reversal late in the session to build on a rally that started on Wednesday with the biggest single-day percentage gains for the indices in nearly a decade. For more on the U.S. market and top stories making the rounds, earlier my colleague Victoria Pepple spoke to our U.S. business correspondent Caroline Woods in New York. She started off by asking her what President Trump was saying regarding the shutdown.
Well, President Trump threatened to close the southern U.S. border if Congress does not agree to provide that $5 billion in taxpayer funds for his promised wall along the border with Mexico. Large parts of the federal government are, of course, shut down for lack of funding in this dispute over the proposed wall. But earlier today, the president was in the White House firing off some pretty angry tweets. He said, quote, "We will be forced to close the southern border entirely if the obstructionist Democrats do not give us the money to finish the wall and also change the ridiculous immigration laws that our country is saddled with." He said, either we build the wall or we close the border. Now, the president also reiterated threats to cut off all U.S. aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, which he said were not doing anything to stop the flow of migrants toward the United States. A spokesman for U.S. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said yesterday that Republicans and Democrats were still very far apart in efforts to resolve the shutdown, which started last Saturday. Democrats have offered support for $1.3 billion in funding for general border security, but have long been opposed to the building of an actual wall. Both chambers of Congress convened for mere minutes late yesterday, but neither side took any action to end the shutdown before adjourning until next week. They really showed little sense of urgency, so this is likely to continue until the new year. Meanwhile, we also learned that President Trump will remain in Washington until a deal over the wall is reached and the partial government shutdown ends. In a Fox News interview, the president's incoming acting chief of staff said the president is very heavily engaged on the shutdown negotiations on a minute-by-minute basis. Because of that, Trump canceled his New Year's plans. He was supposed to go to the annual New Year's Eve gala held at his Florida estate Mar-a-Lago. He, of course, also canceled his Christmas plans to stay in Washington, so it doesn't sound like he'll be budging on this wall funding anytime soon. The latest Reuters Ipsos poll shows 47% of adults hold Trump responsible, while 33% blame Democrats in Congress. The poll was conducted mostly after the shutdown began. 7% of Americans blamed congressional Republicans. Now, just 35% of those surveyed in the opinion poll said they backed including money for the border wall in a congressional spending bill. Only 25% said they supported Trump shutting down the government over the matter. Now, as you said, President Trump has been placing blame on the Democrats. He tweeted yesterday, "This isn't about the wall. Everybody knows that a wall will work perfectly." He cited in Israel, the wall works 99.9%. He said, "This is only about the Dems not letting Donald Trump and the Republicans have a win." They may have 10 Senate votes, but we have the issue, border security 2020. Meanwhile, Trump aides are singling out Nancy Pelosi specifically. She's set to become the House of Representatives Speaker next week because Democrats won the majority in the chamber in elections back in November. White House spokesperson Sarah Sanders told CBS, quote, Nancy Pelosi is only looking to protect her speakership, but not protect our borders, and that's why she's unwilling to negotiate with us and unwilling to make any type of a deal and unwilling to do what is necessary. So safe to say there are a lot of fingers being pointed around. Americans seem to be placing the blame on the president for the most part, at least according to that Reuters poll.
Let's look at the stock market for a bit with a particular focus. Now, the computer market returns to the stock market with the New York Stock Exchange debut. How is the stock performing?
That's right. It's been nearly 6 years after the company's founder and chief executive, Michael Dell, took it private. The computer maker is trading, or I should say it was then the biggest buyout since the financial crisis of 2008. The computer maker is trading on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol Dell, D-E-L-L, after it bought back shares that tracked the financial performance of software maker VMware, in which Dell held an 81% stake. The cash and stock deal was worth nearly $24 billion. Buying back the shares allowed Dell to bypass the traditional IPO process, which would likely have involved grilling by investors over the company's $52.7 billion debt pile. Dell shares opened at $46 today, marking its valuation at about $16 billion, according to Refinitiv data. Just looking at the stock now, it's trading at around $45.25 right now. In terms of some numbers, Dell reported a 15% rise in revenue in its latest quarter and said it expects total adjusted revenue upwards of $92 billion in 2019. The company currently holds 17% of the global PC market share year to date. It's behind rival HP's 23% and Lenovo Group's 21% share. That's according to data from Canalys. So this is another tech stock to keep on our radar as we continue to track the markets.
Caroline Woods there earlier on the U.S. economy. Now, the New York Police Department says there are no credible threats on the annual Times Square New Year's Eve celebration.
NYPD Commissioner James O'Neill asked that anyone out on New Year Eve in the city to be aware of their surroundings, and if they see something that doesn't look right, they should tell a police officer.
Intelligence. As of right now, there are no credible or specific threats directed at our New Year's events. We always have the world's best intelligence analysts and investigators monitoring the threat stream every day and night. And I'm always confident in the work of our nation's first and best Joint Terrorist Task Force, comprised of about 300 officers and agents from the FBI and the NYPD and 54 other agencies. So I'm going to ask for the public's continued vigilance, as I always do. There are millions of eyes and ears out there that night, and if anyone sees something that doesn't look right, that makes them feel uncomfortable, we need to know about it. When it comes to the safety and protection we provide, there will be much the public will see and much the public won't see. And the bottom line is this. People will be safe on Monday, and they should feel safe too, because the NYPD and our law enforcement partners are prepared. This is going to be one of the most well-policed, best-protected events at one of the safest venues in the entire world. And New York City will have another great New Year's Eve celebration, as we do every year.
In other news, 3 young siblings were killed and their mother was hospitalized after she tried to save them from a house fire early Friday in a small South Bend, Indiana city, officials said.
11-year-old Danielle Plock-Sims, 6-year-old Thomas Plock-Sims, and 3-year-old Rosianna Plock-Sims died in the fire in Tell City. Tell City Police Chief Derek Llewellyn said fire crews and police officers also tried to enter the burning two-story home, but were driven back by flames.
We were notified of a structure fire here at this location around 3:40 a.m. Today's date. It's been an active scene ever since. I was told that there was likely some victims inside the home that may have perished. Our patrol units responded on scene. They were the first to arrive, and they did all means they could do to try to gain access to the victims. Unfortunately, the home was fully engulfed. Just too difficult to reach them. My understanding that each of the victims were under the age of 12 years old. I believe that one of the residents inside the home did place the 911 call. It's going to be a grieving process for sure, not just for the family, but for the first responders also. These are the calls you never want to get, and we're going to work together and take care of each other to get through this.
You know, that's really sad, losing all three.
That's pretty sad. You're watching The World's Time now for a short break. Plans more ahead, including election materials have arrived in polling stations in Kinshasa ahead of the Democratic Republic of Congo's elections tomorrow. We'll have the full story when we return. Stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
As a fashion writer, I know how quickly trends are created and changed. In business, it's no different. To stay ahead, I needed a plan flexible enough to meet my changing communication needs. More Business 2.0 didn't just give me voice and data in one package. I got a whole lot more. With More Business, setting up my website was no problem. But I'm not just a fashion writer. I also own a home decor store before I decided to open an accessory store. With my customized More Business plan, managing my staff's communication is easy, no matter how frequently they come or they go. With 9mobile's new online self-service this week, I could adapt my plans to include this.
From 2,000 Naira, choose a business bundle, customize your staff's voice and data lines, and enjoy a variety of add-on business services. Dial *200*5# now to subscribe. More Business.
Nigeria, this incredibly vast and populous land, literally overflows with wealth and abundance. Challenges, difficulties, many, but our unfailing conviction that our God-endowed talents, resources, and resourcefulness has given us victory time and time again. 200 million people, innumerable ideas, limitless possibilities, wondrous abilities. Investing in our people, ensuring a stable and growing Nigeria for Nigerians, a thriving Nigeria for Africa, a prospering Nigeria for the world.
Wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Still in the mood, obviously, and welcome back to The World. I'm Ni Uilo.
And I am Alera Didiari.
The former civilian president of Nigeria, Shehu Shagari, has died at the age of 93 following a short illness.
Shagari is on record as the first executive president Nigeria had. He won elections in 1979 to become the country's sixth president under the banner of the National Party of Nigeria. His presidential term spanned between October 1979 till December 1983. Shagari also served 7 times in the ministerial post as a federal minister and federal commissioner from 1958 to 1975. And the office of the Nigerian president has quickly moved to clarify that multi-billionaire Aliko Dangote is not a member of an advisory committee of a council set up to work for the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Now, a press statement signed by a special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, said that Dangote, who is being reported as Africa's richest man, is not a card-carrying member of President Buhari's party, the All Progressives Congress, and therefore cannot be a member of such committee. It went further to say that the businessman, being a member of the Peace Committee recently constituted for the 2019 elections, cannot be seen to play such a partisan role. And election officials have been readying the materials for polling stations in Kinshasa as the Democratic Republic of Congo prepared for tomorrow's presidential elections.
But the Electoral Commission, citing Ebola outbreak, said voting in the cities of Benin and Butembo has been delayed until March, sparking a second day of protest in Benin. This latest delay in an election meant to occur in late 2016 is angered both residents and the opposition, which accuses the government of trying to ensure that President Joseph Kabila's preferred successor is elected. Many Congolese believe Kabila will continue to wield powers behind the scenes and protect its assets in a country with vast mineral wealth. Meanwhile, residents in the Democratic Republic of Congo's capital have reacted to a decision by the country's Electoral Commission to delay voting in 2 cities until March because of an Ebola outbreak.
That's right. Protests in the DRC on Friday have spread to various cities ahead of Sunday's presidential election after it was announced voting in Benin and Butembo will be postponed. Shiu Repairman Florent Izu said that the future could not be dictated by the country's leadership, adding it was now up to opposition politicians to President Joseph Kabila to stay united and take direct action.
The plan for the future is not according to one person, but together we can take an idea and realize it. Now it is up to them to stay united and take direct action.
Now, a roadside blast has killed 2 Vietnamese tourists and injured 12 other people on a bus near the Giza pyramids in Egypt.
A bomb hidden beside the wall went off as the bus carrying 14 Vietnamese tourists was passing. This was according to a ministry. 2 Egyptians, including the bus driver, among the injured. Tourism has long been a mainstay of the country's economy. And to Sudan, where activists claim that thousands have joined demonstrations in a string of neighborhoods across the Sudanese capital of Khartoum, calling for President Omar al-Bashir to step down.
Now, the protests were the latest in a wave of demonstrations which began across much of Sudan on December 19th, first against price rises and shortages, which later turned against al-Bashir, who has held power since 1989. In the Khartoum suburb of Omdurman, footage showed protesters chanting for freedom, peace and justice. The activist, who spoke on condition of anonymity, said hundreds also took to the streets in the railway city of Atbara, north of Khartoum, Abeid in the west and north Kordofan province, Senna and Wad Madani, south of the capital. In other news, Brazil's President-elect Jair Bolsonaro has visited the Kahilat Yaakov synagogue with the visiting Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
The symbolic gesture served to consolidate a budding friendship between the 2 leaders. Netanyahu met earlier with Bolsonaro, the president's-elect's residence in Rio de Janeiro, where the 2 held one-on-one meetings.
We now have a new friend that understands our historic challenges and our culture and the immense challenges facing us in order to build a future. And that is why, at this moment, during this visit, the first for an Israeli Prime Minister to Brazil, I'm honored to say that we would very soon receive the President of Brazil, a friend of Israel, Jair Bolsonaro, in Jerusalem next year in Jerusalem, our built Jerusalem. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Shabbat Shalom.
And British authorities have rescued 12 migrants who had attempted to cross the English Channel on Friday morning.
Indeed, border force officials intercepted the 2 groups of migrants from Syria and Iran, including one which was originally spotted by a passenger ferry in waters off Dover. A number of migrants have been taken to hospital to be treated for hypothermia, according to Sky News. At least 40 other migrants have been intercepted in Channel waters since Christmas Day. Lucy Morton of the Immigration Services Union on Friday told Sky News that it wasn't clear why the 12 migrants had made the journey to the United Kingdom.
It's a very frightening time. No one truly understands what is driving this. There are lots of theories, and that bits of each theory almost certainly holds elements of truth. But until we're able to stop this flood of individuals, then the pressure on Border Force is going to continue. We don't know who these folk are. We don't know, other than the fact that they have money, we don't know what their backgrounds are. We don't know what ideologies they're bringing in.
If you've claimed asylum in a country before, a safe country, and they're processing your claim, and you leave that in between and then decide to come to the UK can ask that country, well, hold on, you're supposed to be dealing with him, so please, or her, then please take this person back and process their claim. So that can be done, but that all depends on whether that person has claimed asylum before in another country or not. If they haven't, which a lot of them haven't, then we're under an obligation. We can't just put them on a boat back or the next plane back to where they came from.
Those thoughts on illegal migration into the UK there. Now, 4 people have died after a fire in an apartment block in Perpignan near the French capital of Paris.
The city's firefighters said a 20-year-old girl and 2 children were among the dead. The cause of the blaze is still unknown. You're watching The World. Time now for a short break. Plenty more still ahead, including the cost of the trade war between the U.S. and China costed billions in 2018. We'll have the full story when we return. Stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
As a fashion writer, I know how quickly trends are created and changed. In business, it's no different. To stay ahead, I needed a plan flexible enough to meet my changing communication needs. More Business 2.0 didn't just give me voice and data in one package. I got a whole lot more. With More Business, setting up my website was no problem. But I'm not just a fashion writer. I also own a home decor store before I decided to open an accessory store. With my customized More Business plan, managing my staff's communication is easy. No matter how frequently they come or they go. With 9mobile's new online self-service this week, I could adapt my plans to include this.
From 2,000 Naira, choose a business bundle, customize your staff's voice and data lines, and enjoy a variety of add-on business services. Dial *200*5# now to subscribe. More business.
Nigeria, this incredibly vast and populous land, literally overflows with wealth and abundance. Challenges, difficulties, many, but our unfailing conviction that our God-endowed talents, resources, and resourcefulness has given us victory time and time again. 200 million people, innumerable ideas, limitless possibilities, wondrous abilities. Investing in our people, ensuring a stable and growing Nigeria for Nigerians, a thriving Nigeria for Africa, a prospering Nigeria for the world.
Wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
It's good to have you back on The World. I'm Ni Uilo.
And I am Alero Dediare.
In a business, the US-China trade war resulted in billions of dollars of losses for both sides in 2018, hitting industries including autos, technology, and above all, agriculture.
Broad pain from trade tariffs outlined by several economists shows that while specialized industries, including U.S. soybean crushing, benefited from the dispute, it had an overall detrimental impact on both of the world's 2 largest economies. The losses may give U.S. President Donald Trump and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping motivation to resolve their trade differences before a March 2nd deadline. Although talks between the economic superpowers could still devolve, the U.S. and Chinese economies each lost about $2.9 billion annually due to Beijing's tariffs on soybean, corn, wheat, and sodium alone. And still in business, Wells Fargo will pay $575 million to settle claims made by U.S. states. The latest settlement as the bank works to resolve lingering investigations and legal battles stemming from a sales practices scandal and to remove a punitive assets cap.
Now, 2 years ago, Wells Fargo agreed to pay $190 million to settle federal government's claims that the bank created phony customer accounts. Since then, the bank has racked up over $2 billion in penalties as other issues were discovered across most of its business lines. Friday's settlement resolves claims by all 50 states and the District of Columbia related to the accounts, as well as claims that the bank improperly referred and charged customers for a number of financial products like auto and life insurance. Now, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez has said that Spain leads growth among the leading European countries. Sanchez recited figures from the country's National Statistics Office, which shows Spain's GDP had risen 0.6% in the third quarter of 2018, which bettered France, Italy and Germany for the same period. It also said the rights of British people living in Spain will remain unchanged after the UK's exit from the EU.
The government has done more for what worries citizens than the previous government in 7 years. A government that moves forward with a firm step in its three principal objectives: democratic modernisation, economic modernisation, and the improvement of our social coexistence. Spain leads the ranking of economic growth of the principal economic economies. In the third quarter, which is the last set of data we have available, the GDP of Spain grew 0.6% as compared to the 0.4% of France, the minus 0.1% of Italy, and the minus 0.2% of Germany. I would like to send a message of tranquility to Spaniards resident in the United Kingdom and British who are resident in Spain. Your rights will be respected regardless of the final scenario. I inform you that the contingency plans and all the information will be ready at the beginning of January. But let me tell you that the plans are very advanced and are focused on legal measures, especially on those that will ensure that the acquired rights already gained by the British and Spanish will be maintained. But this is on the condition that our citizens will be equally treated in the UK, and we also want to protect our current commercial transactions.
NCT Research has reduced its first quarter production estimate for Apple iPhones and nearly halved expectations on the costliest iPhone XS Max, joining other brokers in lowering forecasts and reports of weak demand.
Now, Citi said it expects the company to make 45 million iPhones for the quarter, down from 50 million it forecast earlier. The cut was mainly due to a weak outlook for the iPhone XS Max. According to a Wall Street Journal report in November, Apple cut production orders for all three iPhone models launched in September. Shares in Apple's Asian suppliers and assemblers slid in November after several component makers forecast weaker than expected sales, leading some market watchers to call for the peak for iPhones in several key markets. In other news, music retailer HMV has said it was calling in the administrators blaming a worsening market for entertainment CDs and DVDs to become the latest victim of brutal trading conditions in Britain's retail sector.
The retailer, one of Britain's best-known high street stores, went into administration in 2013 before its rescue by restructuring specialist Ilco, but it has since been hit by competitions from online rivals and music streaming services. The accounting firm KPMG has been named as the administrator and intends to keep the business running while it seeks a potential buyer, HMV said in a statement. And the Sears Holdings chairman, Eddie Lampert, has submitted a $4.4 billion takeover bid for the bankrupt U.S. retailer, representing its only chance of escaping liquidation and laying off tens of thousands of workers. That's according to a spokesman for the Billionaires Edge Fund.
Indeed, Lampert's bid is backed in part by $1.3 billion in financing from three different financial institutions, according to the spokesman for his hedge fund, ESL Investments. It would preserve about 425 stores that Sears has yet to close and secure the jobs of up to 50,000 workers out of the 68,000 employed by the retailer. People familiar with the matter said the financing comes from Sears' existing lenders, Bank of America and Citigroup Inc., as well as Royal Bank of Canada, which was not previously a lender, which together agreed to provide a $950 million asset-based loan and a $350 million revolving credit line as well.
You're watching The World's Time now for a short break. Plenty more still ahead, including the city of New York prepares for a star-studded lineup for the New Year's Eve. We'll have the full story when we return. Stay with us.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Nigeria, this incredibly vast and populous land, literally overflows with wealth and abundance. Challenges, difficulties, many, but our unfailing conviction that our God-endowed talents, resources, and resourcefulness has given us victory time and time again. 200 million people, innumerable ideas, limitless possibilities, wondrous abilities. Investing in our people, ensuring a stable and growing Nigeria for Nigerians, a thriving Nigeria for Africa, a prospering Nigeria for the world.
Wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Good to have you back. And now to entertainment. Lawyers for Kevin Spacey are asking a judge to allow the actor to skip his arraignment on sexual assault charges in Massachusetts courthouse next month.
The Boston Globe reports that Spacey's attorney filed a motion asking to excuse his presence at the January 7th hearing in the district court. The reason wasn't disclosed. Prosecutors asked the judge to deny the motion. The judge did not immediately rule. Cape and Island's Assistant District Attorney Michael Gardinus wrote that Spacey's appearance is required under state rules for criminal case procedure. The 59-year-old Oscar winner is charged with felony, indecent assault, and battery. Prosecutors say he groped an 18-year-old man in a restaurant in 2016. And British divers rescued young soccer players trapped in a flooded cave in Thailand, among those being recognized in Britain's New Year's honor list, along with 1960s model Twiggy and Monty Python star Michael Palin.
The Jim Carter, who played the Savage Mr. Carson in Downton Abbey, is also recognized, as is filmmaker Christopher Nolan, director of Inception and Dunkirk, and best-selling author Philip Pullman, creator of the Dark Materials trilogy. Palin, whose second career has seen him become an acclaimed travel documentary maker, receives a knighthood. Twiggy, a model who shot to stardom during the Beatles era, will become a dame, a female equivalent of a knight.
It's very major for me to be honoured in that way. I'm a very proud Brit. I love our country. I think it's the best. I try and be an ambassador for it. I always have been. I've been in the business now for over 50 years. So to have this honour from the Queen, because it has to go past by the Queen and the Prime Minister. So I don't know. It's just a nice feeling. Every morning we kind of wake up and giggle. It's nice.
Twiggy there. Angelina Jolie has not ruled out a move into politics and has joked that she might be tough enough to take the rough and tumble that comes with it.
That's right. The American actress and UN envoy told BBC Radio she can take a lot on the chin, a possible reference to a bitter divorce from Brad Pitt. When asked if she's moving in the direction of politics, the 43-year-old Oscar winner said, "Honestly, we'll do whatever I think can really make a change."
Honestly, if you asked me 20 years ago, I would have laughed. And I really don't know. I always say I'll go where I'm needed. I don't know if I'm fit for politics but then I've also joked that I don't know if I have a skeleton left in my closet. So I'm pretty open and out there, and I'm pretty I can take a lot on the chin. So that's good. But I honestly will do whatever I think can really make change. And right now, I am able to work with a UN agency that is the most in the field of all the UN agencies, to do a lot of work directly with the people in need. I'm also able to work with governments, and I'm also able to work with militaries. And so I sit in a very interesting place of being able to get a lot done without a title and without it being about myself or my policies. So for now, I'll sit quiet.
Oh, for now. That's fascinating. There's going to be 30 or 40 Democrats running for the nomination next time. I think I've just put you somewhere on the list.
Thank you.
And you've not said no.
Angela Jolie there talking about the prospect for politics.
And aside from that, moving on from a divorce.
And I'm seeing a lot of entertainment moving into politics as well. Not only there, but here as well.
And fans of the marvelous Mrs. Maisel know that the show's clothes deliver eye-popping color and to die for style, but they might not know the costumes they represent in more than the 1950s couture, but meticulously reflecting each character's mood and development.
Indeed, costume designer Donna Zakowska says she thought about how each character changed from season 1 of the hit show to season 2, which premiered on Amazon earlier this month. Zakowska started out studying paint at École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, which is still a very strong response to color, she said in a recent interview, and that influenced her approach in costume design. One of her first decisions was for the lead character, Midge Maisel, played by Rachel Brosnahan, in a baby pink coat in the first season when she is married and seemingly happy.
You know, I began my whole life as a painter. I went to the Beaux-Arts in Paris and studied painting. So I have like a very strong response to color. And I do feel that color signals things to people. And, you know, I don't take it for granted. So I put a lot of effort, and of course I love doing it, but I put a lot of effort into really working with the palette and working with the colors, you know, and then, you know, it started with that pink coat. I had no idea it was going to like run to that extent, you know, that whole image. But that, you know, became sort of a characteristic of who Midge was when I first started. And so whenever it comes back, there's a little bit of like an echo of that, you know, the way she sees herself at that moment. So I basically did this with most of the characters, you know, and it's a little bit, you know, natural in a way, because I do think that there is this emotional response that is inherent in color. In season 1, you know, I talked about the idea of her being in like a little Chanel suit, or being the mom, the perfect mother on the Upper West Side. Now her palette is really taken on deeper tones, and a lot of, I know my own image of Paris was always, you know, this deep purple and these deep red tones, this sort of very, you know, intense romantic palette. And so what she's really doing is revisiting that bohemian student life when she begins season 2. And so it was really important to, you know, heighten her palette and to work with those colors. And I think they're very French and they're very Parisian. And it also really, you know, removes her from the pastel Chanel-like colors that I had her in through 3/4 of season 1.
She's a storyteller, and she dives just as deeply, if not more deeply in some ways than we do, into these characters, into their arcs, into the stories, into the settings, into everything that came before and is yet to come.
But she's like a mad scientist. But you know, we the great thing about her is we start talking about in just general terms of what we think things are going to be the following year, and then she starts forming her sort of thoughts from there. And then as things get more specific, we sort of go down that road together. But she's quite, she doesn't believe a hat is a hat. A hat is a character. It's a person. It's part of a character in a certain mood or a certain moment in their life has chosen to wear that hat. That hat needs to reflect where the person is internally. And it is she started last year with the pinks, with the pink coat, and the pink coat represented something. And when Joel left, the pink coat left because the pink coat represented who she was with Joel. And then pink went away for a while. And then when pink started to come back, it was a different kind of pink because she was a different kind of woman. She's just a very fascinating, brilliant person.
What's on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel there. Now, growing up, a TV personality, Ryan Seacrest always wanted to be part of the Times Square crowd watching the New Year's Eve ball drop. For nearly the last 15 years, he's had one of the best views of anyone in the world.
Seacrest, host of the New Year's Eve Rockin' Air, began serving as co-host with Dick Clark before the legendary TV personality passed away in 2012. Jenny McCarthy joins the production in 2011 in addition to New Kids on the Block. Other performers include Christina Aguilera, Shawn Mendes, Post Malone, Camila Cabello, and more.
15 years. I love it. I look forward to it every year. As a kid, I always wanted to be here as one of the people watching the ball drop. So I get to be here watching the ball drop with Jenny McCarthy every year.
I'm more excited than ever because my 9th year hosting with Ryan, and the first year I ever hosted, New Kids on the Block performed, and Donnie Wahlberg said hello to me for the first time. So now that we're married, it's even more sentimental that he's performing on this night. So
He's
extra special.
Back, Christina Aguilera is performing, and and so many more. Post Malone. It's going to be challenging because it's supposed to be like this for the ball drop and for all the performers, so you have to tune in to see how it goes down.
Yeah, live TV, you never know what's going to happen.
I think we do think about all of the people around the country at home or at a party watching, and then we start thinking they may not even know it's us after a couple glasses of champagne. So they can have the volume up, volume down. We just want to make sure we get the countdown right.
And I always when I look in the camera, I don't feel 50, 60 million people. I just feel that person on their couch.
Yeah.
And that's who I'm talking.
A lot of anticipation there for New Year's Eve.
Definitely the countdown. And in other news, Israeli media say renowned Israeli author Amos Herzl died at the age of 79.
Oz, author of novels, prose, and a widely acclaimed memoir, had suffered from cancer. Oz won numerous prizes, including the Israel Prize, the country's top civilian recognition, and Germany's Goethe Award. He also was a perennial contender for the Nobel Prize in Literature. His works included Black Box and the Land of Israel, and The Tale of Love and Darkness, a 2002 memoir, was also adapted into a film starring Natalie Portman. Some sports news now. Premier League leaders Liverpool received a boost ahead of Saturday's visit of Arsenal after manager Jurgen Klopp revealed on Friday that midfielder Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain could play again this season.
That's right. Oxlade-Chamberlain was expected to sideline for 12 months after rupturing multiple knee ligaments in the Champions League semi-final first leg, but returns to running outdoors this week. Liverpool have been installed as the new title favourites after Manchester City surprisingly lost back-to-back matches, dropping them to third, 7 points adrift.
But it's a surprise. He's ahead of schedule. He's ahead of schedule. It's always good news. And now we hope we will be very, very, we try to do all right, that we don't push it too much, but we don't want to hold him back. So that's it. We will see. We don't have to talk too much about his progress in the next couple of weeks and maybe probably month, 2 months. But then, if he makes further steps like he did in the last few weeks, then he can play Premier League football this season, which is nice to know.
Play much better than we did at Arsenal, for example, would be a good idea, because we were, especially defending-wise, not as good as we can be, or as good as we were after that. I think it was the period of the Naples game as well when we didn't do too well at Napoli as well. So we needed these couple of weeks for adjusting a few things. We did that. I'm not sure if we spoke about targets before the season, but it's clear with a team like Liverpool and with the size of the club, the quality of the team, you should go for a Champions League qualification. That was our target, 100%. We did it twice in a row. We want to do it a third time in a row, and want to improve as a team, want to play better football, more consistent, be more stable, all that stuff. And we are still on that way. Nothing else. It means that the only thing what's different to last year is that our situation is better in comparison to last year. But we are not even qualified for the Champions League yet. So that means we need to play football, what we like to do, and try to get results, what we want to do, and and then we will see what happens. Nothing changed.
And still in sports, Chelsea boss Maurizio Sarri has acknowledged that in Italy there were some problems in football, commenting on the alleged racist abuse directed towards his former player at Napoli, Kalidou Koulibaly, ahead of Chelsea's London's derby at Crystal Palace in the English Premier League tomorrow. Koulibaly had monkey noises directed at him throughout Napoli's Serie A game at Inter Milan on Wednesday before his controversial sending off after 2 consecutive yellow cards.
You know that in Italy there are some problems in football, especially for Naples, I think. And we stopped, when I was there, we stopped 2 matches. One against Lazio in Rome, one against Sampdoria in Genoa. I'm really very sorry for Kalidou because he's a wonderful man, and so I am really very sorry for him. But I think that in Italy we can do something more for this problem. Well, we have 2 problems. The first most serious, I think, with Pedro. Pedro has an injury in his hamstring, and I think that he will have to rest for about 10 days. The second problem is Odoi. It's not a very serious problem, but I don't know if he will be able to play in the next match. No. Do you know very well my opinion? I think, as I said from the beginning of the season, there are 2 teams a step ahead of the other, Liverpool and Manchester City. Now there is a little gap. I think that City will be able to cover the gap, and I think that the title is a fighting between City and Liverpool.
Those thoughts on racism in Italy's Serie A. And finally, a Festa feature counting down the top 10 bizarre stories of 2018, including the delights of the annual car jumping championship, the medieval Battle of Nations and Championship, and the tuna tossing World Championships. Here's 10 to 6.
Let's take a look back at the top 10 bizarre sporting events from 2018, starting at number 10. 2 humans scaling large tree trunks. It can only be the World Pole Climbing Championships. In at number 9, the English Open Foot Golf Championship took place in the English countryside. Foot golf is, well, exactly as the name suggests. At number 8, it's tractor racing. Tractors, people, and plenty of mud. Need a new hobby for 2019? Well, in at number 7, it's the Extreme Unicycling Championships in Cologne. Go on, give it a try. finally at number 6, it's football on motorbikes. Nice finish.
Very bizarre, sports there. And the one that hit me most was the foot golfing.
Okay, the one that actually got me surprised there was the football on bikes.
On bikes, and then tractor racing. Are tractors actually required to race? They're supposed to pull and, do stuff on the farm.
That's interesting.
Indeed.
Well, join us tomorrow on The World as we count down 5 through to number 1 in the most bizarre sports of 2018.
Indeed. Now, let's remind you of the top stories. These are here on The World. Threatening to close the border, U.S. President Donald Trump says the frontier with Mexico will shut if Congress fails to fund his wall between the two countries.
Shehu Shagari dies. The former civilian president of Nigeria passes away following a brief illness.
And we have a new friend. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meets Brazil's President-elect Jair Bolsonaro and says there is a bright future between the two countries. If you're watching The World, please keep it here on Arise News and from the entire teams here in Lagos as well as London. Goodbye and thanks for being there. I'm Yi Huilo.
And I am Alero Dediari.